Hi everyone, and welcome to another video. If this is the first time that you're seeing me, I am the Hermit Tarot and this is my YouTube channel. Today's video is, I think, aptly named, to be honest. I didn't know what I was going to call this reading, only because I've never really done it like this before, and I've been doing tarot readings for so long now. It's quite rare that I come up with an idea that to me is unique enough to also be exciting. I feel like I've done so much, covered so much, that it's really rare that I'm actually doing something that I haven't done before as a reader. So this is one of the deepest What Are They Thinking readings I have done to date. On YouTube, we're covering the layers of this person's mind. So whenever we talk about a person, it's very important that you come to this reading with a person in mind or the idea of a person. So the concept of a person could be, maybe this is a future spouse, a future friend, or somebody who you're manifesting. That is the only way where the concept of a person would also align. Otherwise, you do need to have a specific person in mind. With that being said, you can also treat this reading like a really in-depth personal reading and think of yourself when you select a group. We are going to be exploring the layers of the person on your mind's brain to understand what their unconscious thoughts are, their subconscious thoughts, and their conscious thoughts. And we'll be looking at those 3 levels of consciousness in general, as well as about you. So if you were going to do this as a really in-depth personal reading, we'd be having a look at what your thoughts of you are on a conscious level, subconscious level, and unconscious level. However, I am going to read it as if we're reading about somebody else. So just consider that if you are using this as a personal reading. With that in mind, the extended reading is where we have a lot more depth around this person's thoughts and how those thoughts correlate towards you. So this is where it may get a little confusing if you are going to use this as a personal reading. The extended reading covers dreams. What are their dreams trying to tell them, and how is that connected to the 3 levels of consciousness? We're also going to have a look at your dreams. What is that trying to tell you, and how is that connected to your 3 levels of consciousness? We're going to have a look at triggers. I imagine that triggers are going to come up on YouTube, but in the extended, we're focusing on them specifically and what thoughts trigger this person about you, what thoughts trigger you about this person. We're also going to have a look at self-limiting beliefs that could be standing in each of your ways and ideas that you should each be focusing on. We're going to have a look at motivation, how that influences your connection, and then we're going to have a look at anything that could change for better and as a challenge in this connection. So that's what we're covering. It's quite in depth. I'm filming your intro before I've even filmed your groups, so I have no idea what to expect except lots of juicy, specific, and hopefully very enlightening information. I'm going to take you into the pick a group portion now, where you'll need to focus on selecting a group that you feel most drawn to. Take your time, consider, pausing the video if you need more time. And if you want more intuitive assistance, I do have a guided meditation that will play right after this that aims at connecting you to your intuition so that you can intuitively select a video that you feel most drawn to, in this video that you feel most drawn to. When you know where to go, check the timestamps in the description box and join me in your reading. To open your meditation, I'm going to ask you to take in 3 deep, mindful breaths. I want you to breathe in for 3 seconds and breathe out for 3 seconds. I will be guiding you through this. Make sure you're comfortable. Focus on the sound of my voice, and let's begin. Breathe in, 1, 2, 3, and out, 1, 2, 3. Breathe in, 1, 2, 3, and out, 1, 2, 3. Last breath. Breathe in, 1, 2, 3, and out, 1, 2, 3. From this relaxed place, observe the groups in your mind. It can help if your eyes are closed. Is there a specific color you feel most drawn to right now? Perhaps it was a phrase I spoke about in the intro. Allow your relaxed mind to guide you to a group you are being most drawn to. Remember, your intuition is not a loud voice, but it is a strong voice, and it knows which of these groups contains the most honest messages for you. Allow it to guide you through symbols, colors, objects, and phrases that will connect you with the group that holds the most clear, honest messages for you. If you need more time, pause the video or repeat this meditation. Hi Group 1 and welcome. If you recognize the image at the start of this clip, then you're in the right place. Group 1, we're doing the deepest what are they thinking reading that I have ever done to date. We're trying to understand the person on your mind's brain. We're going to be looking at the 3 levels of consciousness and how that relates to their general thoughts and also their thoughts of you. So we have a lot to cover. You would have recognized this from the intro. This information is also listed in the description box or the pinned comment. And if you want more info about the extended readings, click the Supportive Hermie link in the description box or the pinned comment and have a look at what we cover for your group's extended reading. With that spiel out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and set my intentions as your reader. It's a wonderful time for you as the viewer to also consider setting your intentions. That can be a way of tuning in with me to make sure that I'm focused on your energy and I'm able to get information for you as well. While setting your intentions, you could also set intentions about the signs of confirmation that you need to see in this reading. That could be colors, numbers, animals, objects, anything to confirm that this reading is for you. Go ahead and set your intentions, and I'm going to set mine. Spirit, please tune me into Group 1's energy. Please help me offer Group 1 the most clear, honest messages about their reading. Thank you, Spirit. So I'm kind of like, I'm filming a reading very early in the morning, Group 1, and I've had 2 coffees. I'm just finishing my second one now, just painting the picture for you, right? I don't have any reason to feel like this, but I feel very relaxed. Despite the amount of caffeine that's in my system, I feel incredibly relaxed, and I'm getting messages about your person's thoughts already. There is a strong feeling of warmth. I'm also getting a yellow color, maybe yellow, like a mustardy yellow, a warm yellow. Could be significant. It could be a favorite color. It could be the color of a specific item of clothing that was worn at a specific event in your connection. Could also be the color of like a flower or an object that was significant. But it's coming through as a very warm color, a very almost like a safe color. And it's being depicted as the safe kind of feelings you get from like your grandparents. The idea of that safety, that comfort, that warmth. And I'm also being called to differentiate family from this connection. So if this is a platonic family connection, it feels more than that. There's actually a cold feeling when we bring family into this connection. So maybe family is completely separate from this connection, group one, or you may be feeling separate from your family at the time of this reading. I was just interrupted by a message on my Apple Watch from my mum, so that could be significant. I'm going to take my watch off so it doesn't disrupt us, but there could be something about a mother or family issues with a mother that are significant to you, group one, which is quite common. So let's see what else we can get. Anything else more specific? Spirit, tuning into group one's energy, can we understand this person's brain in general? What zodiac card or astrology card would help us understand the way that group one's person thinks? How does group one's person think in general? Okay, we got 2 cards that Spirit wants me to take. Understanding this person's brain in general, we have Venus reversed, and we also have Juno. And can we get a card from the tarot as well? This tarot deck was recently rented to me by a family friend, and I feel incredibly grateful to have this deck in my possession, even if it's just for a short period of time. Beautiful deck. Wow, the Death card reversed with the Kashina Juggler. 2 of Discs. With that being said, look at the duality here. Goodness, this person's brain is, I would say it has like Gemini influences, because it makes me think of someone who's able to see both sides of every story, who's able to see the good and the bad. They may need to focus on seeing the good though, the light, the positives, because if not, they're focusing on the shadows, the fears, the unknowns. But this is someone who is able to look at 2 sides of every story. For that reason, their mind may be quick to change. Their brain is being summarized as one that is undecided and that is easily influenced by sentimental aspects and by their goodness. They are probably someone who believes that ultimately people are good and that people have goodness within them. And so that seems to overrule and influence their thoughts about people. Now, in general, this person's brain seems to be very sentimental. There also seems to be a conscious effort to protect themselves. So I think this is somebody that's usually taken advantage of, that usually is quite self-sacrificing, and that puts the needs of their loved ones or people that they're interested in or care about more than their own needs. Especially with this here, it's making me think that this person is usually compromising rather than, and accommodating rather than overruling or overriding. Juno is a very soft, wonderful feeling that I associate with soulmates. So I think that this person, once they love deeply, they love very boldly, and they put that love above all else. Now, if they don't have this in their life, they look for it, they seek it, they want it. They are maybe either a romantic at heart, or they're just somebody who has a almost naive way of looking at the world and at people, in that, you know, everybody ultimately cares and people care and there is goodness, and that could come across as very naive to others who have been through experiences that have jaded them. Now, with that being said, I think this person has experienced some heavy stuff, to say the least. The Death card reversed means that this person has tried to put heavy feelings behind them. They don't like to dwell on them. They also don't like to focus on it as a rule. They think that whenever they are hurt by somebody else's actions, whether that's, you know, extreme feelings of betrayal, they don't like to see it as the rule. They don't think that everybody is like this. They think that that was the exception, that the experience that they went through is not the way that people truly are. That's just what they are like at certain moments in their life. And with the Death card reversed, this person's threshold and tolerance could be quite low, and so they prefer to not dwell and to not focus on heavy feelings because it makes them get overwhelmed easily. I do think that if this person experiences compounded issues, challenges, or emotional hardship, as in like if it's just feeling like one thing after another in a very short period of time, that could have very dire consequences on this person's mental health. And I think that they have struggled with their mental health in the past and they've been to some really dark places. And so they're at a point in their life where they recognize how important it is to stay optimistic and to focus on positive feelings and to not dwell on heavy emotion and to not get trapped into, really dark thoughts. It's like this person is constantly trying to outweigh a darkness that they feel they have within them. Whereas on the surface, it looks like they're just being naive and optimistic and at times self-sacrificing when they are actively choosing not to dwell on something within them by focusing on other people around them instead and trying to surround themselves with really loving, supportive, caring people instead. So that is the ultimate, that is just the surface, I guess, summarizing what we're about to dive into on a deeper scale. So let's get into it. I do want to start with their conscious thoughts. I was going to go with their unconscious first, but I think before we dive deep, we need to start at the surface, kind of like naturally kind of dive deeper and not do too much at once. Let's start with their conscious thoughts in general and of you. I'm going to use the She-Wolf Tarot first. And I got this deck from Tarot Stack. I do have an affiliate link in the description box. Actually, it's probably also in the pinned comment. Okay, Spirit. What is this person's conscious thoughts in general? In general, we have the Ten of Pentacles reversed. And what are their conscious thoughts about my viewer? What is this person's conscious thoughts about my viewer, Spirit? Okay. Conscious thoughts is the High Priestess. At the back of the deck, to try to give us some sort of understanding of both of these questions, we've got the Page of Pentacles. Now let me just check to see that we're all in frame. Cool. I'm going to move my paper out of the way so it's a bit less distracting. And is that all in frame? Cool. Just going to finish my coffee. Whoops. Dropping things. All right, so I might put that over there. Okay. So I want to talk about symbolism. We've got duality again in the High Priestess. So themes of intuitive thinking, black and white, this or that, left or right, that kind of idea of duality could be quite significant to this person and to this connection. There's also a Neptunian and Piscean part to that. And remember that with the sign of Pisces, we have the two fish that are like swimming together in unison. So I do think that when it comes to this connection, there is a feeling here of maybe two sides to this story, while also having an underlying similarity or connection to each other. I do think that the High Priestess is here to show that two sides to the story aspect of your connection, and the fact that you and this person may feel like very different people, very much like two sides of the same coin, but you are different, if that makes sense. There's a light and there's a shadow aspect. There's that stark visualization of the colors on this card again. And yet there's also that symmetry, that symbolism of same. So it's very interesting in that way. So Pisces could be significant. Gemini could be significant. Other signs that have duality are Cancer in terms of the symbol. We also have, who else off the top of my head? Aries has that uniform look of its symbol, where you could put a mirror in the middle of the sign and it would look exactly the same without it. I guess you could say the same for Taurus too then, but then that would make a lot of them uniform. What else has Aquarius? Has the 2 lines for the water bearer. I have to really scour my brain. Anyway, if your sun sign does, you would know. So having a look overall at their conscious thoughts, with the Page of Pentacles being reversed, I have a feeling that this person's mind is one that they are consciously conditioning. Like there's an effort here to suppress, and there is an effort here to dive in. So it's like they're filtering things. And we did see that in the first part of your reading. With the Page of Pentacles being here, a page is like a student, an apprentice, someone who's learning. And when it's reversed, it makes me think of somebody who's outgrown something, or someone who's more skilled, more gifted, more mature than they're pretending to be, which does support the idea that this person chooses to be optimistic. They choose to be maybe less mature than what they are. They may act in a way that is more youthful or less mature than their age, than their biological age, and also than their experience. Because I think this person with the Pentacles has been through a lot, but they pretend they haven't, or they choose not to focus on that. They choose not to reduce themselves to their age or to their experiences. They almost like to be youthful and a student in life. They don't want to pretend they know everything. They like to look at things and think about things with an open mind. With that being said, I think that this way of thinking gets revealed when you get this person talking about something that they're either really interested in or something that they're very knowledgeable about. If you're able to talk about something that this person has researched or spent a lot of time understanding, that's when you get to see how mature and experienced and wise this person is. I do think that they consciously seek experiences rather than theory. I don't think that they like learning things theoretically. I think they like applying things to experience and putting context to their theory, like just really immersing themselves in practical experiences, which is very interesting in terms of how they choose to think. It's like this person either thinks that theory doesn't go very far, or they just don't want to overload their brain. They'd rather be more selective and just choose to learn through action rather than with words and ideas. Because of that, conscious conversations with this person could feel like they don't really get to the depth of this person's minds. A small interaction with this person could hint that a lot more is going on behind the scenes, but I feel like this person is very good at just sort of keeping you in the top layers of what they've got going on. They're very good at directing that conversation back to like surface level problems or issues or concerns. They don't like to get too deep too quickly. With most people, that's not the case with you though. But with most people, I feel like this person's really good at small talk. They're really good at sort of giving out answers or talking in a way that feels almost robotic. Like it doesn't feel genuine. It may be, it may hint that this person has a good nature, but it doesn't feel like it fully expresses this person's true, authentic being, if that makes sense. So I think that this person is likely to not say much to people that they aren't very comfortable around. You have your oversharers in life who can just sort of tell you their whole life story as soon as they meet you. This person isn't really like that. They like to gauge interest. They also gauge whether it's even appropriate for them to open that can of worms. So speaking of that can of worms, I think that is a good segue into their conscious thoughts in general. With the Ten of Pentacles reversed, this person is consciously trying to restructure the way that they're thinking about their future. They're rethinking their career, they're rethinking their values, they're rethinking their long-term commitments, they're rethinking their long-term plan in life, what that means for them and what that's going to symbolize in terms of relationships, in terms of a sense of community, in terms of financially, in terms of like other systems or values. The Ten of Pentacles represents legacy, and it's more than just a long-term relationship. It's everything that you give your time to over time in terms of what you have left to pass on to those you may be leaving behind. So there's some pretty deep conscious thoughts about their future, and it's making them rethink things. Now, career came up first. I think that this person is consciously rethinking the way that they're making money, the way that they're spending money, and what they're going to have to show for in their older years. If they are older and they're close to retirement, they are thinking, oh my gosh, I don't have enough. Because that's the idea here, is I haven't been working smart. I've been working hard and I've got nothing to show for it. I need to rethink the way that I'm doing it. I need to rethink my values. I need to rethink how I'm investing my time, my money, and I need to rethink the types of connections and communities that I'm creating around myself and also around my children if this person has kids. With the Ten of Pentacles reversed, they may be restructuring the idea of family in their mind. What does that look like? Is that blood relatives? Is that a group of community members from places and organizations over the years? For example, some people who are very religious see their church members as family. They could have work family because they've been in the same job for so long. They formed strong connections to those people. Or they could have friends who they've known for years and years and years who feel more like family than blood relatives. So they're thinking about all of that. And this is quite big picture, but it doesn't feel deep. It feels like it's coming from a space of, I need a plan for my future, not what the heck, like it's not like an existential crisis. It's more of I need a plan for my future. And the reason why they're doing this comes down to their sense of commitment and responsibility. This person feels responsible for more than just themselves. They feel responsible for either dependents like children or people that they care for, or they feel responsible for a long-term relationship that they've got in their life. But they feel responsible for more than themselves. And so having a plan for the future feels like a sense of responsibility that is bigger than them. They're not thinking about this because it's a good idea for them. They're thinking about it because it's a responsibility that they owe to other people in their life. So that's interesting. Now, this could also come down to taking care of business, needing to fix issues in their life that they've prolonged. Maybe they're overdue for a new job or a change in career. Maybe they're overdue to graduate or finish their education. Maybe they're overdue towards handling their long-term plan and looking into, a retirement fund or some sort of will that takes care of their legacy after they've gone. Maybe they're overdue to visit or connect with loved ones and family members. There's this feeling of, I've been putting things off and now it's like I need to deal with it. I need to handle it. So that is their conscious thoughts in general. Now, when it comes to their conscious thoughts of you, with the High Priestess, these thoughts are very deep, almost secretive, but incredibly meaningful. These thoughts are connected towards strong feelings of empathy, strong feelings of understanding, and a strong sense of compassion. There are deep feelings here, which is interesting because we're only in their conscious layer. So it's only going to get deeper, and it'll be interesting to see how those thoughts develop. But the High Priestess is a card of mystery. It's a card of knowing, and it's also a card that tells us that less is more. So when it comes to this person's thoughts of you, there is an indication here that you already know how they think and what they feel, because me trying to explain it may make it more confusing, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway because that's my job. So I do feel like the conscious thoughts of you are centered around the uniqueness of you, of their feelings for you, of recent interactions with you, of how you've reshaped and in a lot of ways strengthened their feelings and their understanding about people, about life, and about you. There is a feeling as though you add more meaning into this person's life, and for that reason they consciously choose when to think about you and how to think about you. I think that you are a form of escape for this person. I think that they like to daydream and maybe fantasize about you as a way of breaking up their day and sort of, making sure that their routine isn't too boring. I think that they like to look at you with rose-colored glasses sometimes. They like to remember you in a really sweet and fond way. And they like to think of you in a way that feels like it's got the essence of you, but it's also the best of you, if that makes sense. So with the High Priestess being here, this is the kind of thoughts that this person doesn't share with everybody. I think that it subconsciously comes through in the way that they talk about you. People can feel how much they care about you. They may not explicitly express it, as in they're not, declaring their feelings for you to everybody that they talk to. They protect how they feel about you, and they protect the idea of you in front of others. But there's a lot more going on there that comes through subconsciously in how they choose to talk about you and what they choose to say. It's coming through as quite respectful, protective, and even secretive for a lot of you with this High Priestess, not wanting to express or divulge too much. So is there anything else they need to know before we move forward? No, we got to move forward apparently, and we're running out of time. All right, I always do this. I talk too much. Let's have a look at the subconscious thoughts now. We're gonna use this deck apparently. Okay. Whoa. Spirit, what are this person's subconscious thoughts in general for my group ones? Okay, we're going to take that. We have the Chief of Vessels. Wow, big heart. This person may be a water sign. We had Pisces, now we've got some Scorpio, but Cancer could also be significant. What are this person's subconscious thoughts of my viewer? Okay. We have 3, which is joint effort. That's a 3 of pipes, which is a 3 of wands. The back of the deck is the 10 of pentacles, harvest. So subconsciously, this person is very focused on their future, and it is impacting their conscious effort, but subconsciously, they have a strong desire for stability, for longevity, and for long-term success in all aspects of their life. They want that feeling of what I'm creating is not only meaningful, but it's going to sustain for the rest of my life. So this person doesn't want to feel like they're wasting their time, they're wasting their effort, they're wasting their, money, their resources. They want to feel like what they're doing has long-term potential. And that translates into their relationships, their career, their lifestyle, their food, like everything. They want it to feel long-term, stable, and meaningful, purposeful, effective. Interesting words. It feels like that's a criteria or something. Maybe that's somehow relevant. I don't know. Purposeful, meaningful, what did I say? I can't even remember now. But anyway, that feels like a criteria sheet. it feels like a marking or assessment sheet, so that could be significant. So overall, their subconscious brain is focused on the big picture. It's focused on the future. It's focused on where all these little choices, actions, and decisions are leading to 10 years plus from now. What is that going to look like? Now, because of that, they may be acting in a way that feels a little off, because sometimes in order to cater towards the bigger picture, we don't always do what feels right in the present, if that makes sense. It makes me think of someone who may be even a little bit preoccupied, like they're thinking so far ahead consciously and subconsciously that it could feel like they're not acting like they're here. It's not like their feet are here, their head is here. It feels like their head is somewhere else. It feels like their actions are, not making the most out of the moment, because they don't want to be impulsive. They don't want to sabotage, and they also don't want to do the wrong thing, because they're looking so far ahead. They can see how one little step out of line could butterfly effect into something very significant 10 years from now. So subconsciously, they're trying to be very careful. And that kind of way of looking can also be very self-critical. They're holding themselves to a high standard. When we have those kinds of subconscious thoughts, we tend to also either subconsciously or unconsciously project that onto people around us. So people close to this person, people who are valued by this person, may at times feel like they're being held to an impossible standard. They may feel like this person is just always either perfecting or criticizing. Nothing is good enough. It can feel very hard to try to please someone like this. With that being said, this isn't a conscious choice. Not that I'm trying to, make excuses here, but I just want to remind us that we're on the subconscious layer of the mind. We're on the layer that doesn't know what it's doing. The individual has to be very aware and almost needs to be held accountable in order to know that how they're treating people, if it's coming from the subconscious mind. And if that correlation isn't brought to their awareness, it can continue to happen, which is why shadow work is so important. The subconscious mind is directly related towards your shadow and the things that you're not always aware of because you're not focusing on it. By bringing light to your shadow, you're making it a conscious effort, and you're bringing conscious awareness to things that may have been subconsciously impacting and affecting your life, your relationships, your connection to self and others. So I do see how with the 10 of discs, this person has such they have high standards, high expectations, and they also hold themselves to a high regard. So they want the best. They focus on the best, and it comes through in their actions, the way that they do things. They don't like to cut corners because they feel like it just all adds up, it all comes back. They want to feel like when they're doing something, it's to the best of their ability with the best intention in mind. So the 10 of discs is talking about how subconsciously they're focused on their future. With the Chief of Vessels here, in general, their subconscious thoughts have a strong connection to their heart space, their emotions, their feelings. I think that subconsciously this person's heart leads a lot of their decision making. This person's feelings influences their focus, their attention, and what they choose to put their energy towards. Their subconscious thoughts seem to be heavily connected to their heart space, which is why I think they have that conscious effort to choose positive thoughts. Because if their heart is not, feeling good, if their heart is if their feelings are somewhat heavy, negative or overall just down, then that is where their head subconsciously steers towards. And we can kind of see that in the imagery here. The Chief of Vessels is actually a very intelligent and emotionally intelligent person. But on a subconscious layer, it is about the fact that you can't always control your feelings. Even if you're incredibly stoic, incredibly, emotionally intelligent and aware, there is always an aspect to feelings that is uncontrollable. And that is, you can't always control your emotion from, like, whether it's a positive feeling like love, you can't always choose how you feel love or who you feel love for. But you also can't always choose why you're sad or when you're sad or what made you sad. So on a subconscious layer, this person's thoughts in general are very easily influenced by their subconscious feelings and by the anomaly that is, you can't control your feelings. Because of that reason, they always try to have some sort of goal that they're working towards on all layers of consciousness. They've learned to be very conditioned by plans, goals, and having something to look forward to. And this has helped them stay on track. It's helped them feel more in control, and it's helped them redirect their thoughts, especially when their feelings are heavy or sad or generally down. I think that this card also talks about how subconsciously this person is very quickly and able to connect with feelings and emotions in a moment. They can not only understand how they feel, but they're very good at reading other people. When this person is connecting with someone for the first time or even for the 1,000th time, they're able to very quickly be able to read the feelings, and understand where that person is coming from an emotional space. The Chief of Vessels talks about emotional intelligence as knowing and connecting to another person's heart space, as well as their intuition, as well as their subconscious feelings. So this person is very aware of how people don't always act or react from a logical place, because that's how they are. They act and react from an emotional place if they're not careful. And so they really connect with people who have big hearts or who have, strong emotion. Oh my gosh, I don't know what you heard because my alarm went off, but I was saying this person really connects with people who have big hearts or big emotions because they can sympathize. They can really understand where that person is coming from. So that is subconscious in general. I feel like we could go for longer, but my alarm means that I've already been talking for a very long time and we still have a lot more to do. So we're going to move forward. Now the Three of Pipes or the Three of Wands, I'm going to say the Three of Pipes just to maintain the integrity of this deck, reflects their subconscious thoughts of you, my viewer. Now I do think that this card means that overall, they are subconsciously in this with you. They want this with you. There's this strong connection of it takes two, but also their relationship with you is bigger than just the two of you. It involves a lot of moving parts. It involves accommodating for all aspects of your lives, including, your other important relationships, your other important friendships, your other important connections. And it's going to take teamwork. So their subconscious thoughts of you are centered around this feeling of, first of all, they have a lot of desire to be successful in this connection with you, but they also have a lot of motivation towards making sure that all the moving parts in your connection are working well together. And it's interesting because we do know that the threes in tarot can indicate, teamwork and group work. But when you combine that with the Three of Wands, you're combining this collaborative energy with a genuine motivation and desire. So this person has subconscious thoughts that are already very positive, motivated, and connected to you, combined with this theory, this idea that it's going to take effort. So I think that the way that they feel, as in we've already talked about their conscious thoughts, in their subconscious thoughts, those feelings deepen towards an intrinsic motivation in your connection. Like this person has vested interest in making sure that your connection is successful, that you feel supported, that they have room for you to support them in their life, that, you know, mutual connections are feeling supportive. Like they want it all to just flow well. They want the energy to flow well. They want it all to work together. They want it all to make sense and to flow well. And they don't want wires crossed. They don't want tension. They don't want misunderstandings, or even for anyone to feel unheard or unseen. If it's important to you, it's important to them. And they feel subconsciously that if something's important to them, it's also important to you. So they see your connection as a joint effort of mutual motivation and desire to collaborate and to create something for the future. So they feel very positive about you on a conscious and subconscious level. And subconsciously, they think of you as somebody who they have a common sense of purpose with, a common goal for the future, a common motivation, which is to be successful in this connection for the future. So maybe you have also, I mean, we're going to know more in the extended, but I think that you have also influenced their thought patterns towards the future, because they are someone that needs to be looking forward to something in order to keep their demons at bay, so to speak, their mental health more positive. They have to have a goal. And in this case, that goal seems to be very involved with their thoughts and feelings about you as well. So let's have a look at their unconscious layer now. I'm so curious. I'm going to use both tarot decks for this, just so I can get as much info as possible. In theory, I think this is going to be the hardest layer to uncover, because it's so embedded in the psyche that it's not usually known. So it's a bit hard to divinate in theory, but I've never really done this type of reading before. So let's see. Spirit, what is this person's unconscious thoughts in general? For group 1, what is their person's unconscious thoughts in general? Okay, in general, we have the 3 of Wands. So more of that energy of the future. I don't know if I'm allowed to show this. Goodness, you can't really see anything. It's just the shape of a person. We'll see if that works, me saying that out loud, I don't know. So 3 of Wands, more of this energy about the future, potential for the future, collaborating for the future, motivation towards being successful in the future. You got the 3 of Wands in the previous round. See, it's all kind of connected. You had the 10 of Pentacles in the first layer and the second layer, and then you've got the 3 of Wands in the second layer and now the third layer. Let's see what their unconscious thoughts of you are. What are this person's? We have the King of Wands. Wow. Oh God, I don't think I can show that. Goodness, I'm just going to do this because YouTube be wilding out. I might have to do this as well. Like, anyway, I'm not going to bring politics into it. There's so much happening in the world, but I'm going to do that. All right. 3 of Cups at the back of the deck to help us understand their unconscious mind better. Let's get the cards from the other tarot deck now. Spirit, when it comes to this person's unconscious thoughts in general, what tarot card best describes their unconscious thoughts? Okay, we have the Hermit and their unconscious thoughts of my viewer. What are this person's unconscious thoughts of my viewer? unconscious thoughts of my viewer spirit. We have the Council Chief, and at the back of the deck is the Matriarch of Shields. Let me just see where we're at, if it's all in frame. Oh my gosh, it is amazing. Okay, love. All right. So, goodness, look at that. Lots of symbolism. The number 3 is very significant. The number 9 is very significant. We also have some Aries energy with the Council Chief. King of Wands, I would say, is a bit of Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. We have Virgo, and the Matriarch of Shields to me is Capricorn, but it also has a little bit of Virgo and Taurus in it naturally. In terms of planets, the Matriarch of Shields is Venus for me. Venus and a little bit of Mercury, because she has to be able to work well with other people. I think overall, this person's unconscious thoughts reveal their beautiful, beautiful heart. Like, unconsciously, this person was conditioned to be a wonderful friend, a very sweet, kind, giving person who always thinks about other people and puts people ahead of them. Like, this is a really sweet, charitable, considerate, giving, loyal, committed, generous person. For these 2 cards to be here, this is the kind of person that likes to do favors because it makes them feel good about themselves. They were conditioned either from childhood by a feminine energy, which could have been a mother or a grandmother, to do good and to give back and to be generous, charitable, to be generous with your time, generous with your resources, your money. This person believes in holding themselves to a high standard. They want to be successful, but they place their values on sentimental connections and people. So even when they have a lot, they prefer to give a lot. They don't like to hoard. They don't like to hold on to things and put too much value on material objects. A lot of what they value is through their acts of service, through their gestures, and connected to this idea that looking after the people around you will pay back. Even if there are a few bad eggs, people who take more than they give, they believe that overall humanity has the capacity to be good and to do good. And by paying it forward, you can start a chain of kindness and charity. So unconsciously, this person was raised to have very strong sentimental values, very strong ideas around community and giving and charity. With the 3 of Cups, unconsciously, they have a strong desire for connection. They want to feel a part of a community, a part of something bigger than themselves. And we see that with the Matriarch of Shields as well. Unconsciously, this person is always looking for more of responsibility, for more chances to prove to themselves that they're capable, and for more chances to experience and expand. They're looking for more on a level of being able to test their capacity to give and to receive. With that being said, they are a team player, so they are more likely to consciously and subconsciously take on more if it is directly supporting the people they already care about. So they're likely to work more hours or to offer more time or money if it's going to directly benefit the people that they care about. If it is self-invested interest, like, they're less likely to push themselves. They're not as likely to apply themselves because unconsciously they're trying to look after the people that they care about, the people that they love, and they're trying to strengthen a sense of community around them. So they want to feel like they're a part of something bigger than themselves. Unconsciously, they want lots of close friends, not just acquaintances, but close friends, people that they can rely on. Unconsciously, they want people to, tell them when and if they need their support. They don't like to feel in the dark. They like to know where they stand. They like clear communication. They like to know when they're doing the right thing. They like words of affirmation and praise in general. And they like feedback. They want constructive criticism. This is someone who unconsciously likes to know the parameters. They like to know the criteria, for example. They like to know, again, that constructive feedback. It's not just criticism, it's about working better, working together. So strong symbols of connection in their subconscious psyche. Their subconscious and unconscious thoughts are about their value for community and being a part of a community that gives to each other. And they do consider themselves on an unconscious level. They've been conditioned to see themselves as somewhat of a leader or influencer, as in they have to model the right values to the people around them in order to be treated a certain way. They don't believe in expecting people to respect you. They believe in respecting people first and modeling that respect. So I feel like this is the kind of person that has a lot of patience for young people and old people, because they don't expect those demographics of people to immediately trust and immediately like and feel connected. So they believe in, giving in order to receive, which comes into respect and also connection, which is why I think on a subconscious and conscious level, they have a lot of patience for people who are emotional and who struggle to contain how they feel. I think they have a lot of respect and understanding and patience for those kinds of people. So let's have a look at their unconscious thoughts in general. With the Three of Wands, we got that three again. It's a lot of collaboration. It's the sense of community. It's this feeling of working towards something, having momentum and motivation. I think that this person's motivations are very altruistic. Their intrinsic motivation is actually to isolate themselves. If you actually ask this person, well, what do you want to do? I think they would just be alone. But if you said to them, well, I really want to do this, and they already had a strong sense of love for you, they would do it because you want to. So they're more motivated by extrinsic connections, and that's how you kind of tap into getting this person to think bigger than themselves. Their unconscious thoughts have them very much in a comfort zone of being like a loner and somebody who prefers to self-regulate and isolate. They are somebody who was conditioned to do a lot of the soul searching alone, which is why with the Three of Wands here, when they have the opportunity to connect with like-minded people or with people who come from different experiences and backgrounds, they seem to gravitate towards it, because I think that this person has a very deep soul. They have a very deep mind, and they are genuinely curious about things on an unconscious level. Look at how this person's looking into this, almost this vortex of galaxies. Like, it's this strong feeling of their subconscious mind is quite deep, expansive, and open. But unless they're motivated by a connection that they have to somebody else, they're more likely to just think about it by themselves instead of act upon it. So I think that unconsciously, a lot of their thoughts have to be externally motivated in order for them to take action. Also, on an unconscious level, a lot of their thoughts are mostly optimistic. There is an unconscious side to this person that draws value off of previous experiences with the Hermit. They know that experience equals wisdom, regardless of whether it's a positive experience, a negative experience, whether they got their heart broken or whether they were able to achieve something really good, they know that all experience equals wisdom. And so they're able to unconsciously process experience into a positive thing. That's why I believe that the core of this person is so good. It's genuine, it's authentic, it's considerate, it's loving, it's empathetic, it's supportive. And that's why on a conscious level, they're having to be a little bit cautious. They're having to have that filter. And on a subconscious level, they're even more careful about what they focus on and about what they choose to think about. Because unconsciously, the thoughts create from a very pure, positive, proactive place, even if they never turn into any action. There is a genuine desire with the matriarch of shields and these 2 3s to turn a lot of their thoughts, their creative energy, their passion, their motivations into something bigger than themselves. But it has to have meaning. It can't just be about themselves. It has to be about creating for the purpose of community, connection. Even if it's just one connection that this person truly treasures, they're less motivated to do it if it's just about themselves. So let's talk about their unconscious thoughts of you now. With the King of Wands here and the Council Chief, we're seeing very masculine themes, masculine energy. The King of Wands is a planner, a strategizer. The King of Wands is also very resourceful, like the King of Pentacles or the King of Shields. The King of Wands wants to make the most out of their resources. And the King of Wands resources is creative energy, is determination, is internal energy like self-esteem, self-efficacy. They want to make the most out of what they have within themselves and in their environment in order to be most successful. So this is the type of person who wants to have a strategy and a plan. And unconsciously, when they think of your connection and you, they want to be the most successful that they can be with the energy that they have from you, the energy that they have for you, and turning that into something long term. And we do see that with the Council Chief as well. But this is also where we're seeing that strong sense of responsibility, because the Council Chief is kind of like the patriarch. It's the ultimate masculine energy, which comes with a lot of responsibility, a lot of expectation within self and externally. This person unconsciously thinks of you as someone who challenges them, tests them, holds them responsible, and makes them ultimately a better person, but unconsciously it puts a lot of pressure on them. And the way that they're interpreting that pressure, which is again on an unconscious level, is as the ultimate version of their abilities. So we have different forms of pressure in tarot. We have the 10 of Wands and the 9 of Wands, for example, which talks about pressure, stress, and frustration being pushed to our limits, to the point where we're burning out and we're having to go back to the drawing board because we've exhausted ourselves. And then we have this sense of pressure, which is leadership. It's capability, and it's about using that pressure to do something. It's kind of like, if anyone's going to work well under pressure, it would be the King of Wands and the Council Chief, who is the Emperor in traditional tarot. So on an unconscious level, their thoughts of you is that you put them under pressure in a good way. You kind of force them to do things that they wouldn't otherwise consider doing or feel motivated to do. You take this creative energy and you force them to turn it into an external action instead of an internal reflection. And I do think that unconsciously you bring a lot of inspiration, a lot of ideas, a lot of creative ideas into this person's mind, encouraging them to think bigger, to plan bigger, and to actually do something with what they have, their energy, which is where the council chief comes back in. The King of Wands desires, craves, thrives on expansion. The council chief handles risk well, especially with that stable number 4. The council chief knows how to manage risk effectively, knowing when to act, how to act, and when to stay in planning mode. So you do bring out the best in them. You bring out this leadership side, either through modeling because you are a leader in their eyes, or because you make them want that for themselves. And it comes with this sense of responsibility and also stubbornness. Because look in the background here. The author of this deck has chosen to include a ram in the background. So we have the Aries ram in the imagery, the stubborn ram, the determined ram. It's not going to give up easily. On an unconscious level, this person is not going to give up easily. Is there anything else we need to cover in this YouTube reading before we go into the extended spirit? We're going to get a summarizing card from the Rumi Oracle. This could take some time, but it's just that kind of reading. Spirit, what card best describes this person's deepest, or the layers of their mind? What card best describes this person's layers of their mind, Spirit? Okay. Wow. You, number 33, who show the way. Very beautiful card. Lots of interesting imagery. The Rumi Oracle is incredibly deep, so you're welcome to do your own research into this card. There is an extensive guidebook on this deck, and I will be reading from it. I'm not going to read all of it though. It's very detailed, and I could do an hour-long reading on just one card from this deck, but I don't know how well that would be received. So if you're interested in that, let me know. But otherwise, I'm just going to intuitively read, and then I'll show you the pages where you can pause and read in your own time. So first of all, we're seeing 3 again, 33 on this card, which is again themes of collaboration, community, creativity in general, and expansion. The layers of this person's mind are very centered around what the numbers 3 and 33 mean in tarot, especially. This idea of creation, expansion, community. This person's being was conditioned on all 3 layers of consciousness to be very giving, very kind, very generous, and also to live in a way that models that back towards their community. They believe in being the person that you want to attract into your life, and they also believe that it takes a village to stay connected and to feel connected to something bigger than yourself. You can't just focus on 1 or 2 people who are important. It's about fostering a sense of community in your lifetime. You who show the way is very representative of how this person needs some sort of goal to stay focused, to stay positive, and to stay connected to their life. I believe that a lot of their mental health concerns have happened when this person has lost their anchor in life, their sense of why is life even important, and is it even worth living? And so they do what they can to always make sure that they're anchored in multiple ways through that sense of community and hope for the future. You who show the way also reflects this person's choice to think optimistically. They choose to be a positive thinker. They choose to focus on the light instead of the shadows. and they choose their thoughts very carefully because they know that they have a darkness to their thoughts, a heaviness, a sadness. And so this person consciously chooses to focus on the way forward, the light at the end of the tunnel, and the positive in the people around them, but also in the world around them. Let's see what the guidebook can tell us. Okay, so here's the first 2 pages. Pause if you want to read. I'm going to try to hold it still. There we go. Here's the second 2 pages. Pause if you want to read. Okay. So, I'm going to read the little poem first. The logical mind runs away from drowning. Lovers accept drowning in the sea as their destiny. The logical mind finds consolation in reaching a level of comfort in life. Lovers are focused beyond their own comfort. I think this is a lover. This is someone who genuinely loves, and there's a part of them that has accepted drowning in their feelings as who they are. They're a feeler. They're someone who thinks and feels deeply, and they've had to reason with that by logically choosing to focus on certain things, knowing that their heart will always ultimately guide their decisions in life. And they've had to be very careful about sharing their feelings and developing their feelings with people because they don't want to accidentally drown for the wrong people, which is they don't want their feelings to be betrayed because they've chosen to love and trust people who didn't care, love, or respect them. So this person uses their logical mind to control their feelings, their heart space, and their sense of connection. Now, this card is talking about how the light rises above the horizon as a feeling of guiding, but also yearning. The imagery on this card draws your attention towards this tiny part of the overall picture because it's trying to make you see how even if all of this feels big, right? All of your fear, your concerns, your blockages, the things that are stressing you out, the rejections, the U-turns, the try-agains, all of those moments feel so big, there is always hope. Even if it just feels like this is just stacking on top of another, like this person has felt, there is always hope. There is always within yourself the ability to choose to see an out, a positive, a solution, a way forward. And you have it within you, but this card talks about how people use that in religion. They focus on God as their light, as their way out. They focus on Jesus and other religious symbols, signs, prophets as a way forward. But you always have that within you. You have that ability to reframe and to see a way forward, which I think really, really talks about the layers of this person's mind. This oracle card is an omen, an issue too difficult for you to understand, no matter how hard you've been working on it, is about to be resolved. This person's mind is just conditioned to really always see the way out because of what they've been through, because of how they were raised, and because of how they matured through their experiences, which I think makes them a generally very beautiful, kind, generous, loving person. So that is what I'm seeing for you, my group ones. We're going to go into the extended reading now, where we're focusing on all of this. So if you thought the YouTube reading was long, the extended reading is going to be probably just as long. If you're interested in supporting me and joining me in the extended readings, the link to all the extended readings is in the description box and the pinned comment. Click on that supportive Hermie link to find your group's extended reading. Remember your group 1, and I will give you confirmation. If you watch the trailer to the video, you'll be able to make sure you've selected the right group before you purchase it. And if you are heading over there, I will see you very soon. Thank you so much for supporting me. Before we end the YouTube reading, I just want to say thank you to all of you here on YouTube. Thank you for all of your support, your time, your energy. If you enjoyed this reading, consider giving it a like and joining the Hermie community by subscribing. Until we meet again, I wish you peace, prosperity, abundance, happiness, health, wealth, success, and joy on your journey ahead. Bye. Hi group 2, and welcome to your reading. If you recognize the object at the start of this video, then you're in the right place. This reading is going to be having a look at your person's deepest parts of their brain, essentially. We're breaking this down into the 3 layers of your person's psyche, looking at their conscious layer, their subconscious, and their unconscious. This reading is supposed to be a deep dive into their brain, understanding more about who they are, how they are, and why maybe they do the things that they do. So we're going to be looking at their thoughts in general, and then we're also going to be relating it back to you, the viewer, and how those thoughts of you are in those layers of their mind. There is an extended reading, which I've just finished with group 1. I will talk more about the extended reading at the end. If you want to read more about it, there's info in the description box and the pinned comment as well. To open your reading, I'm going to set my intentions. I highly recommend that you do the same, group 2. Consider the questions you have or the reasons why you clicked on this video, and also think about signs of confirmation that you need to see or hear in order to claim that this reading is yours. These signs could be colors, numbers, animals, objects, maybe something that's very specific to your connection. I'm using a variety of decks, and I do always rely on my intuition to read, so it should come out if this reading is meant for you. Spirit, please tune me into group 2's energy. Please help me offer group 2 the most clear, honest messages about their reading. Thank you, Spirit. Group 2, I am getting hints of green as I close my eyes. I'm also seeing a correlation to crystals, the ocean, maybe some jasper. That could be a name that's significant. Ocean jasper, foam, which is making me think of coffee as well, or cold foam, like an inland lake where, you know, the wind creates foam on the surface. Sea foam as well. That's significant. The texture of foam could be significant. Maybe this person is a builder or they work with insulation, and it's making me think of the fluffiness of that insulation material, how it looks like cotton candy. So fairs or amusement parks is where we're at now. And I'm also seeing lots of lights and just laughter and loud sounds. So those sorts of environments may be relevant to your connection in some way. The lights are swirling and moving, which is also making me think of when you're dancing, you know, and things are sort of moving around you, or when you're spinning around. That may be significant. Being drunk may also be significant to this connection, or under the influence of something. Is there anything else from here? No, we're going to get straight into it. I am seeing bars, like metal bars. They almost look like a fence or like a cage. They were black, but they are softening just to indicate that the color could be different, but the idea is they're metal bars, like a railing or a fence, or even jail for some of you. Okay, that's what I'm seeing initially. Let's have a look now. We're going to start with the outer layer. We're going to start with this person's conscious thoughts in general and of you. For that, I think we're going to use, the astrology deck. Okay, so Spirit, for my group 2s, what is this person's conscious thoughts? Lies in their consciousness in general? Okay, we have a card. We have lunar eclipse. And what about their thoughts of my viewer, my group 2s? Okay. We have Ceres, which is harvest. So these are interesting because they are quite different. On one hand, you have the lunar eclipse, which talks about clarity. It also talks about gathering information and being curious about the unknown, wanting to know everything, and at times being a bit of a know-it-all about what you do know and trying to project that onto other people. I think about the lunar eclipse in terms of a personality as someone who's very inquisitive, curious, who likes to focus on anomalies and mysteries, secrecies, the occult, maybe conspiracy theories, the unknown. They may also like to be kept well informed in general by staying up to date with the news and gathering as much information as they can. The lunar eclipse people can sometimes come across as people that, on their quest for knowledge, they become very overbearing with what they do know. So this could be the kind of person that likes to push their knowledge or what they know onto other people. It may be quite intense at times, like when they're really into something, everybody around them hears about it nonstop, or they expect those close to them to engage in it in order to spend time with them. If this person is gifted or if they have, hobbies, I feel like they would immerse themselves in them. They would really want to, take it up with a sense of like obsession. The lunar eclipse card essentially talks about how in order to see, you have to be in the dark. Like the moon covers the sun and allows you to see. So if we didn't have the moon blocking out the sun, we would be blinded by the light. So it's a very interesting way of looking at the world. It's almost like this person is more drawn to the shadows, drawn to the unknown, and is maybe a little bit of a pessimist at times, or just cynical or skeptical. They may feel like they're a bit of an antagonist, that they like to go against the grain. They like to look at the opposing facts and evidence instead of, following the light and going with the obvious truth or the obvious answer. It could feel like they're always coming up with a counter argument, or they're always trying to go against the grain and trying to look at the evidence that disproves instead of what proves. So, and that could, be something that they don't enjoy other people doing to them. Maybe they prefer to feel like they know enough to be able to support their claims. And so when people go, yeah, but what about this? They don't like to feel like they don't know what they know, if that makes sense. It might make sense. In terms of their conscious thoughts, this person chooses to focus on things that they can handle. And I think that's because with the lunar eclipse card being here, either they're actually quite a sensitive person or they get easily overwhelmed and they don't always feel in control either of their lives, of their own emotions, or of their reactions. And they may feel like they're constantly in environments that are overstimulating or overwhelming, and their threshold for tolerance could be quite low. So this person prefers quieter environments. They consciously choose to focus on information, and they may be selectively hearing conversations. When you try to talk to this person, they may selectively retain information, and they purposefully tune certain things out because it's just too much. The lunar eclipse card is like a strong filter that can't take too much intensity. It can't take too much at once. So in terms of their consciousness, their mind is consciously filtering most of their life out. Like 90% of what happens gets filtered out. Doesn't mean that they forget. In fact, usually this kind of card would indicate that someone is so sensitive and aware of what's going on that if they focus on it all at once, it's too much. It causes meltdowns, outbursts, or just misdirected anger and frustration onto the people around them. So this also makes me think of people who experience, overstimulation due to neurodivergency, being on the autism spectrum, or having an ADHD, disorder. I don't know if disorder is an appropriate word to use for that, but it does make me think of people that become overwhelmed and overstimulated. So I think that this person prefers like quieter places or familiar places where they know what to expect. I would say that they like darker spaces too. Does that make them a night owl? Maybe for most of you, this person is a night owl just because lunar eclipse is here. But we are talking more about their consciousness. And their consciousness does at times impact their habits and their actions and their behavior. But it ultimately represents what their mind focuses on. Now, we don't always control every thought we have. So I do think that in their mind, in their conscious layer of thinking, there are a lot of thoughts that come at once that really feel like a flood of information in this person's brain, especially in experiences that are new, that have strong emotions, or in experiences where this person's heart space is being impacted by a strong emotion as well. It's like a lot of information happens at once. And so I think that overall, in this person's conscious layer of thinking, in general, with this lunar eclipse card, it's like their brain is really trying to just hold on to what it wants to, because it's almost swimming in a sea of information. And if they're not careful, if they focus too much on the sea, they lose their grip and they lose control. So I think that for some of you, this person has anger problems, in that they let their feelings and their emotions and their reactions get the better of them. I think this person has been known to either be violent, or they just get really overwhelmed and they crack, they go off, they explode. It feels like there is a volatile side. And so they try to stay subdued. They try to just filter 90% of the world out, and they try to just stay in their almost obsession energy where they can just fixate on what they want to. Now, the way that this is coming through in terms of their energy towards you is that they have to be very careful. And I'm not sure what the nature of your relationship is with this person. This reading was intended for all types of connections: platonic, family, romance. So we're going to just cover the messages that come through. And if I'm getting specific messages about a type of connection, I will address it. The first type of connection that I'm picking up on is an ex, somebody who you had a closer connection with, whether this was as a friend or as a lover, and now you're not close. With Ceres reversed, their conscious layer of thinking is overall, in terms of all of you, not just the exes, about having to be careful. They don't want to overdo it. They don't want to mess things up, for some of you more. I'm just wiping my nose. Sorry about that tissue sound. And for a lot of you, they don't want to do much because they don't feel like they will be rewarded. Ceres is the Reaper, and it's an asteroid that highlights areas of your life where you may be most successful, most kind of like where you may experience the most abundance, or ways that you could either experience a rewarding career, a rewarding connection, or a rewarding harvest of some sorts, because this is the Reaper. It's about using the scythe to harvest your effort. So in order to grow a crop, at least according to the scythe, any crop that you cut with the scythe, whether it's cane or wheat or barley, anything that grows takes time, it takes effort, it takes resources like water, in some cases natural fertilizers, if we go way back to before we created our factories. So it takes the seasons, it takes the natural element of patience and letting the sun and the earth help us. So there's all of these things that goes into harvesting. And it's this idea when it's upright that whatever you're putting your energy into will pay off if you keep working on it and feeding it and essentially growing it. It's going to be a bountiful harvest. When this card is reversed, group 2, either this person has already harvested this connection in that they've taken a lot of goodness from it, or they feel like they're not getting enough from it. It's not sustainable, it's not worth putting more time and effort into, or it simply isn't their main focus in life. And this could be, I'm going to clarify, because of boundaries that you've put in place, or it could simply be because you and this person aren't close anymore. Spirit, why does this person's conscious thoughts represent Ceres reverse, the Fool? I think that this person is just focused on other things. I think with the Fool card reverse, they have another opportunity, another new beginning, and they have something in their life that they're very excited about. It could have to do with a fresh start. It could have to do with the potential for a harvest. And, you know, if they focus on this area of their life, they're going to reap the rewards. They seem very locked in. They seem very hopeful about this other thing. And they seem overall to think that this is what I need to do in order to be the type of person that I want. So it's connected to their aspirations with the Fool card. It's also connected to an idea that this is like a brand new fresh start. When they think of this connection, they think of baggage, they think of either a false start, or they think of how it is distracting, or it takes away from their ability to focus on other areas of their life. Now, to cover all bases, I am a Capricorn stellium. I'm going to be a little bit of a devil's advocate. If this person is neurodivergent, they may not be aware of how minimizing their conscious thoughts are towards this connection. They may simply be very hyperfixated on this other opportunity, and I don't know yet, we're just going into their conscious layer, if they realize how offensive their hyperfixation is towards you. Because obviously me tapping in objectively, the words that I'm saying, I'm like, oh my God, this is not nice. It's not nice for me to sit here and tell you, the viewer, that this person doesn't see you as someone worth investing time in. That's very offensive. But when I tune in knowing this lunar eclipse energy, it does make me question, does this person realize, or are they neurodivergent, and are they only mentally capable in terms of their frontal lobe of storing certain information? I'm not trying to make excuses, but I think I do need to be devil's advocate just in case some of you in group 2 resonate with that. So this is their conscious layer of thinking about you and in general. We're going to dive deeper now into their subconscious layer. Your subconscious can impact your dreams. It can also influence your shadow. And your shadow is usually aspects of your personality that you're not confident or comfortable with. Your shadow can at times feel offensive. It can at times be associated with shame and guilt, because it seems to be a part of our vessel that we have less control over. So your subconscious thoughts, in many different ways, in terms of metaphysically and psychologically, your subconscious thoughts are a little bit more volatile, a lot less controlled, and you do have the potential to be aware of them if you choose to focus on them. But it's usually the way you think without trying to think. And that's why your dreams often are influenced by your subconscious thoughts as well. So, with that being said, in the extended reading, we do talk more about dreams. I'm going to shuffle some cards. I just got to get this eyelash out of my eye and I'll be back. Okay, I feel a lot better. We're going to use this deck. This is the She-Wolf Tarot deck for your subconscious thoughts. Spirit, when it comes to group 2's persons, subconscious thoughts in general, what are this person's subconscious thoughts in general? And group 2, I would strongly encourage you to protect your energy at this point in your reading. I'm getting hints and symbolism from my spiritual team of ancestors that smoking, if you have incense or any Palo Santo, or if you do use versions of sage or other things to smoke, even just like a candle, lighting that and saying a little chant of protection, calling on your spiritual team, your spirit guides, your ancestors for protection, could be beneficial at this point in the reading. My goal as your reader is to get you clarity and information, but I recognize how these messages aren't comfortable. And after doing this for such a long time, I realize how the words that I say, the messages that I speak, even though I don't intend for them to hurt, they can be harmful. So to protect yourself, consider smoking your space, smoking your vessel, and saying that chant of protection. Here's the chant that I like to say while I'm lighting incense. I personally try not to use white sage anymore. I'm trying to migrate towards my own cultural background. So I'm going to be smoking more coconut husks and eucalyptus leaves because I'm an Indigenous Australian. So here's the things that I say while I'm smoking my incense. Spirits, angels, ancestors, please protect my home, my body, my objects, and my animals from all negative energies, entities, and spirits. Please allow my space, my body, my home, my objects, and my animals to be protected, to feel loved, and to have security. And that's the basic chant that I do. You can always embellish it and add more, but that will get you a long way. Okay, so speaking of a long way, I'm going to set my intentions again. Spirit, for my group 2s, what subconscious thoughts does their person have in general? Okay, we have 2 cards. And what thoughts do they have about my viewer? Okay, so we have Temperance coming out. And the first 2 cards were the King of Cups and the Ten of Swords. This is so interesting, looking at their subconscious. So overall, we can see how this person's subconscious mind is quite a doomsday prepper. We have the Ten of Swords to confirm that subconsciously this person assumes the worst and is very easily influenced by their heart space, their feelings, their negative feelings. With the King of Cups, this person likes to assume the worst, and it's not because I think they want to be a negative person. It's because they're actually quite a logical person, and they don't always have a strong control over their feelings. Now, this person has the capacity to read other people really well. Anyone that has a Court Cups card in their subconscious layer usually has very good instincts, usually has a very strong connection to empathy or an understanding of other people's feelings, because they've had to actively, consciously work on knowing themselves better. If they don't do the work consciously, then they subconsciously end up projecting a lot of their feelings and unconsciously hurting a lot of people. This is the type of person that, unless they are actively healing, they inactively hurt It's that classic phrase of hurt people hurt people. And if they do know what they're doing, I do feel like this person is knowledgeable enough to be able to make the choice. So now I'm almost wanting to take back what I said before. Depending on how much therapy or just work this person has done on themselves, they should know when their actions hurt other people, because of this King of Cups in their subconscious layer. Subconsciously, this person's psyche is very easily influenced by their heart space, by their emotions, and they have to mature and become intelligent enough to be able to understand their feelings, to be able to know what their feelings are, and to be able to know what to do with them. And so a King of Cups is not just someone who feels deeply. It's someone who is very good at using their emotions, manipulating their emotions, and even using the emotions of others and manipulating the emotions of others. So subconsciously, this person is very good at reading people, very good at knowing what someone is feeling, even if with the Ten of Swords, they end up overthinking it. Remember, the Ten of Swords is this person's cynical, skeptical, or negative mind trying to imagine the worst case scenario, to the point where subconsciously this person believes it's over before it's even started. And this can create a very negative rhetoric of being trapped in an ending before they've even been able to take a beginning. This is a subconscious conditioning, and it's probably either connected to something in their upbringing that made them feel like they weren't able to get ahead, that made them focus more on negatives, or it could just be genetic conditioning. You know, they might have the most joyful, sunny dispositioned parents, and yet this person's brain is hardwired through some sort of recessive gene that they've inherited to be a doomsday prepper and to assume the worst. So the Ten of Swords, as a subconscious conditioning, feels like this person sees the world as something that is harmful, that is either going to hurt them, betray them, or take advantage of them. And it can be very, what's the word I was using yesterday? Not recessive, but like it can be very, what's the word when there's like no point to anything? It's like a way of thinking. You have like your cynical people, you have your, it's like there's just no point to anything. And that's also a word they use for people that don't believe in anything, it's not like they're, you know how you have your Christians and then you have your atheists. It's not like it's like they just don't believe on a deep layer, on a subconscious layer, that life has any meaning, which actually goes against their nature, because their nature is to feel deeply. Their nature is to have such strong emotions that they can't always control them. And their nature is to be able to really connect with people deeply, but they hate it. It goes against their conditioning. They don't want to know what other people are feeling all the time. They don't want to feel what other people are feeling. So part of them gets really drawn into emotional stories, and they get really intrigued by compelling evidence or compelling, passionate, to the point where I feel like that this person likes to get into the minds of like serial killers and just try to understand, well, why do people do it? And we all have that within us, but it's because this person also wants to know, like, why do people do it? What is the world really a bad place? Or is there a positive? And I think that for the most part, their conditioning subconsciously tells them the world is a bad place, but there's a part of their heart that influences their subconscious, and it makes them want to believe that people are good. So it's very crazy. This is who they are without trying. And then their conscious layer is the filter that tries to block out most of it so that they can focus on something, right? So we can kind of see how subconsciously this person has a lot going on, and why consciously they may try to tune a lot of it out with that lunar eclipse card. Now, when it comes to you, my viewer, with the Temperance card reversed, we can see that subconsciously this is somebody who is looking at your connection as a feeling of separation. So I again either feel like you have strong boundaries with this person, or you have a strong physical distance. Temperance is a card of patience. It's a card of bringing energies together and trying to kind of make it all work by balancing it all out. It's about having a flow, a natural flow, and trying not to get too either passionate or overwhelmed. It's like that delicate balance of tempering your energy and balancing out your energy, which can also include balancing your expectations with your excitement, so that you're able to find a more natural flow. And so someone like this is always trying to do that, right? But they are especially doing that subconsciously when it comes to this connection. They don't feel like this connection gets the best of them. They feel like this connection has at times, and maybe even now, gotten the worst of them. And with Temperance reversed, the worst of them could include outbursts. When we're not being tempered, we are more likely to lean into our reactive energies, our reactive emotions, our impulsive behaviors. And we do that because we're struggling to filter how we feel. So I do feel like subconsciously this person is very likely to take things out on you, on this connection, and they're very likely to want to just be unfiltered with you, either because they're not seeing this connection as something that they need to be filtered on or focused on, or simply because subconsciously they feel safe enough being that unfiltered version. But I do think that for a lot of you, this means that you cop some pretty strong emotion from this person, some strong energies, some heavy energies. And for some of you, I was picking up on like anger. The scenario that I'm getting, and this isn't going to apply to all of you, is like a parent of a child that has an autism spectrum, and the child is having a hard time controlling their energies and their feelings, and they're having an outburst, and the parent is trying to calm the child down, but the child's just escalating, getting more frustrated because the child feels like this parent isn't understanding them. And the child is like, I'm your child, like I should be able to be myself around you. But the parent is starting to get scared about the child's behavior and feeling like they've lost control of their child. So the parent's trying to physically restrain their child, and the child is now physically lashing out, feeling physically and emotionally betrayed that their parent isn't letting them be who they want to be, and not making that connection that their behavior is making their parent feel unsafe. And so that's how it feels subconsciously. That's the example that's coming to mind, is that this person with you is subconsciously an unfiltered, untempered version of themselves. And that's how they think about you, and that's how they subconsciously react and sort of treat you. And so I do think that this has some negative repercussions, because it can feel harmful, it can make you feel unsafe, and it may also feel offensive at times, but it's a representation of this person feeling like they don't have to be a filtered version of themselves. In terms of their thoughts, Spirit, okay, so subconsciously their thoughts about you do come in waves. At times it's very intense. With Temperance, they may obsess or have really strong, overwhelming thoughts of you. And then at times there's not much going on because they're able to stay focused or fixated on other things. So temperance reversed is also talking about the thoughts that they have of you coming either really strongly or barely at all. So there's that as well. Let's have a look at their unconscious layer now. Sorry for bumping the mic. For their unconscious layer, I am going to use 2 decks just to get as much info as possible. So Spirit, when it comes to this person's unconscious thoughts of my group 2s, what do they think of group 2 on their unconscious layer? We have the Knight of Pentacles for you. And in general, what is this person's unconscious psyche like? Unconsciously, what are they thinking? We have the High Priestess. Okay. In the middle, I'm going to put the Divine Masculine card. And sweet souls, you're welcome to do your own research into what these terms mean psychologically and metaphysically in spiritual terms. I'm using the unconscious definition of your thoughts being very being so deeply embedded in your psyche that you as a person are usually unaware of them. They're thoughts that happen that are either conditioned or embedded so deeply that we don't have any influence, or even it takes a lot of time to recondition them because the information is stored without any effort or influence. So if you have some pretty harmful, unconditioned, unconscious patterns, the only way to reprogram is by completely immersing yourself in a different way of thinking, consciously and also without you listening. So there was, I don't know if it's been proven as being effective, but people would listen to self-help books while they were sleeping as a way of trying to get their brain to retain things. And there's a lot of theories about the unconscious mind in terms of psychology. I've been recently studying it at uni, but I do think that it's very unknown. It's kind of, some people believe that we store things in our unconscious layer of thinking when we're children, and that it's very hard to sort of get rid of what we've stored there. Other people think that it is related to genetics, and a lot of people like to believe that you can recondition this part of your mind if you fully immerse yourself in a belief system. So if you feel like someone who's very unmotivated and a negative sort of person, trying to retrain your unconscious mind would be about always consciously trying to be who you want to be and allowing that to ingrain itself into your unconscious. There are a lot of people who don't even believe in the unconscious layer. They think that the word unconscious is a state of being, in that it represents when you're asleep or when you're passed out. And they don't think that it has anything to do with the brain at all. So take it with a grain of salt, do your own research. But for the purposes of your reading, we're talking about the unconscious mind as a very deep part of the human psyche that has very little control. The person has very little control over. So it's going to be very interesting with this person to see what that means. And I'm already getting some really interesting ideas about what this person's mind is like, because it's going to be hard to know, unless you are this person. It's hard to know what's really going on the deeper layer. Spirit, what is going on in this person's unconscious mind? In general, we have the Maiden of Shields, and in terms of the viewer, we have the this is the Ten of Axes, which is ruin. Now, the Ten of Axes is also the Ten of Swords. At the back of the deck is the Matriarch of Pipes. Okay. Now, I've been talking. I didn't even realize that I've got things that I need to cover up because YouTube hates the human body. And like, fair enough, but because I don't know, in socially and society, it doesn't always respectfully appreciate. I can understand. Anyway, without so many words, let's continue. Is this in frame? No, not really. Okay, so I'm gonna have to move you. Oh no. Okay, let's just push that up. And if I do that, it should be in frame now. Pretty much. Okay, so, gosh, this person's unconscious mind. So overall, with these two cards here, we're seeing imagery of how this person is actually someone with a lot of cross wires. Does that make sense? We have a masculine energy and we have a feminine energy. Now, the only similarity these two cards have is that they both are represented by fire elements. The divine masculine is represented usually as the Emperor card in tarot. These are both tarot decks, FYI. This looks like an oracle deck, but it is a tarot deck. And the divine masculine represents the fiery energy of Aries, usually. In this deck, it focuses on the solar plexus chakra and those determining sort of qualities of the masculine energy. So unconsciously, this person is deeply motivated to be a strong person, a capable person, someone who can do anything that they put their mind to. They want to be seen as a strong person. Unconsciously, this person has been conditioned to believe in the archetypes of what masculinity is. And if they are in a society that projects masculine archetypes, you know, like as in if their community believes that a man should act a certain way or men should do this and women should do that, it does affect how this person sees themselves. Unconsciously, their self-efficacy and their self-esteem is influenced by their ability to be a strong person, a strong leader, a strong protector, a strong, reliable, masculine energy. However, in the other tarot deck, with the Matriarch of Pipes here, this is also somebody who is blinded by their ego at times. Now, the Matriarch of Pipes is usually the Queen of Wands. In this deck, it's a very mystical energy. The pipes are a sign of inspiration because the author of this deck, who has strong Native American ancestry, but did a lot of research throughout the country, talks about pipes as a way of connecting. You smoke and you would ceremonially either connect to ancestors or spirits or the land itself as a spirit to gain inspiration, wisdom, visions, and to use that to create. So the Matriarch of Pipes, instead of looking at that card as a manifestation card, is the card of creativity. It's like the feminine energy as like a crone in the Western archetypes of wisdom, and she is able to connect very strongly to that other world of ancestors and spirits to be able to gain wisdom and insights about how she and her people should act and use their energy to create. So this person unconsciously thinks of themselves as someone who should be very capable and responsible of their own journey in life. And this is very much a burden to them they see themselves, especially if they are an adult now, but even if they're a child, even if you're asking about your child or someone who is still young, who hasn't reached, maturity, they have an unconscious pressure to be capable of their managing their own success and the success of those that they feel responsible for. So unconsciously, this person at times has a very inflated ego because they believe, and they've been conditioned to believe, that if in life they aren't successful, they mess up or they lose momentum or they do the wrong thing, it is ultimately their fault, no one else's. They may try to blame other people, but they know within the fiber of their being, on an unconscious level, that it's their fault. And so they take criticism, they take mistakes way too seriously. And either they try to take the attention off of it by doing something very reactive or even being a bit of a clown about it and laughing about it, or they try to make other people look worse so that they don't look bad. This person has a very fragile ego, a very fragile self-esteem, and it's because they hold themselves in high regard. And they may also hold a parental figure or a carer in high regard. It could be an older sibling who was responsible for them. This person or their sort of role models, even if it's like an action figure or comic book superhero, this person's role models are almost otherworldly. They're almost so perfect that they're not even human. They're the archetypes of masculinity and femininity and being talented, skillful, wise, capable leaders that are strong and responsible. So this is a lot of pressure on this person from the inside out. Now, in general, their thoughts of the world and the people around them are being shown as the Maiden of Shields, which to me is the Page, if I'm not wrong. I'm pretty sure this is the Page of Pentacles. I'll just quickly check. Give me a moment. Okay, it definitely is the Page. But in this deck, instead of looking at the Page as a gender, it represents naivety and innocence. So in the creator of this deck's culture, and the creator is Magda Weck Gonzalez, and the illustrator is J.A. Gonzalez. The creator talks about maidens as being young people who know nothing of their heritage and who struggle to appreciate the ancestry that they come from. So there's a lot of projection onto this. She describes the Maiden of Shields as being the epitome of womanhood because the shields are pentacles in this deck. So in terms of the cultural influence of this deck, the shields represent longevity, they represent tradition and being able to carry on the cultures that are represented in this deck. So as an unconscious layer, this person's thoughts in general seem to be that they feel very underprepared to make something out of their life. They feel like someone who is naive, and they may even see that the people around them are naive, that the people around them are prone to making mistakes, that the people around them don't seem to be able to take the opportunities that they're given. This is a very cynical, unconscious way of looking at people. It's almost like they see people as you have all of this, around you, all these resources, all of this culture, or all of this knowledge, and you're just not tapping into it. So as an epitome of womanhood, which is the nurturing side of humanity and the projected expectation of what it means to make something and make yourself useful in society, which I don't necessarily always agree with. But I'm trying to be respectful of other people's cultures, and my own culture does that too. This person unconsciously has a very specific ways of looking at the world, at people, and they may like to put people into boxes. They may like to make things make sense by making people fit into these boxes. With the High Priestess here, this card talks about their compulsions, the fact that they feel very drawn towards mysteries and knowing things, and unconsciously they do try to figure things out, but unconsciously they're also more comfortable not knowing than they are with knowing. It's like this person projects what they want for themselves. They wish they could just be somewhat naive or unbothered or just unaware. And so they feel a weird feeling of like noticing that in other people and being critical of that in other people, while also feeling as though this is something that they have as well. So unconsciously with the High Priestess, this person is very drawn towards mystery, the occult, the unknown, anomalies, the supernatural, the unexplainable, conspiracy theories. They have an inquisitive mind that loves to problem solve, loves to figure things out. And we also see that they have a strong intuition. From their unconscious, they are able to read people very well. They're able to tune in if they want to. But we know that on a conscious level, they have that filter. And on a subconscious level, they've got that 10 of Swords. So their brain is constantly disconnecting them from this unconscious intuitive that they have. And they may even have this because they've inherited it from an ancestor. They have a strong inner knowing that they are disconnected from on the outer layer, which they could use as a weapon, right? Empathy can be used as a weapon. Knowing how someone feels and how to make them feel something can be a weapon. So that is a good way of leading us into you, my viewer. I'm running out of time because I've been talking too much, but with the Knight of Pentacles reversed, we can see that unconsciously, this person's thoughts of you are inconsistent, to say the least, and they have no structure or grounding. So I don't think that this person has a sense of purpose or direction when it comes to this connection. Unconsciously, it seems inconsistent. They think of you sometimes, other times they don't. And with the 10 of Ruin, this is the 10 of Swords, they are mostly of the mind that either this is over or that something has happened that has permanently changed the way that you see them and the way that this connection can move forward. With the 10 of Swords reversed, this person unconsciously does wish you well and is unconsciously aware of how they have affected you. And this is a part of an unconscious pattern that they have, in which they may hurt the people around them and even cause the people around them to feel betrayed. There's also some sort of self-fulfilling prophecy here with you, in which this person expected you to do something like betray them, hurt them, ruin them, and you did. So there's this very satisfying feeling on an unconscious level of you turning out to fulfill a prophecy that they predicted, which was that it was going to end, it wasn't going to work out, but it also was going to happen in a way that they expected, which was hurtful or harmful, either to just themselves or to both of you. So that is what I'm seeing, my group twos. I'm going to close your reading by getting a Rumi Oracle card. Spirit, what card may best summarize this person's mind for my group two's closure? Wow, we have Cosmic Heart in the reverse. So the Rumi Oracle deck is an extensive deck. I'm not going to talk in depth about this card because I don't have the time. I do have to go into your extended reading next. So before we get into this card, here is what we're covering in your extended reading, group two. It's going to be quite juicy. If you thought this reading was jam-packed, the next part of your reading is even more jam-packed. I open your extended reading by setting my intentions and asking you to do the same. We then have a look at your triggers, both of you and this person. What thoughts about each of you trigger the other person? We then have a look at self-limiting beliefs and how they stand in either of your ways. We then have a look at your dreams. What are they trying to tell you? And what are your dreams of each other about? How are they connected to the 3 layers of your mind? We then look at motivations. This is a very insightful way of understanding how someone works and how they operate by looking at their motivations. What is this person's motivation towards you? What is your motivation towards them? The other group was a lot more straightforward. It came through in the first part of their reading. Yours hasn't really yet, so that could be very telling. The 5th topic we're addressing is the ideas that you should each be focusing on for your highest good. Now, this can be very helpful in trying to understand where your journeys are headed to next. And then we close your reading by looking at your connection. What is going to change for the better and as a challenge between the 2 of you? So the link to your extended reading is in the description box and the pinned comment. Click on that link to find your extended reading. Remember your group 2. Read more about it before you purchase it. Make sure you've selected the right group, and I will see you over there if that's where you're headed. Now, your Cosmic Heart card is a way of closing up this YouTube reading by looking at this person and their overall, sorry, I've had a lot of coffee, so I'm literally shaking, their overall energy, their overall way of thinking. With this card reversed, we know that this person is trying to disconnect. We know that they aren't wanting to feel. They don't want to be so connected. They don't want to have this strong intuition. They don't want to subconsciously be led by their heart. They hate that their feelings get the better of them, and they hate that they have the ability to feel other people's hurt. They don't like that. And so they spend a lot of their time consciously, subconsciously, and unconsciously trying to ignore that. They have the makings of a leader, of somebody who should be able to use their feelings to sort of make a difference, but instead they've been conditioned to see it as a bad thing because the world is a bad place. Now, if you want to read more about this card, feel free to pause the video and screenshot or just read from the deck. Here's the first card from the Rumi Oracle deck. The first page, sorry. The second and third page about this card. And the 4th page about this card, which includes an honoring ritual that is aimed at, all the honoring rituals, in my opinion, are aimed at bringing you closer to love, feeling love for yourself, but also having love for the universe and spirit and source and all of that. So feeling like you're able to work through uncomfortable feelings, uncomfortable thoughts, uncomfortable knowing by getting back to a space of love. So that is what I'm seeing for you, group 2. I'm so sorry that we weren't able to deep dive into this card. I have well and truly run out of time, but I do want to thank you for all of your time, your energy, and your support. Thank you for joining me here on YouTube. And if you are interested in that extended reading, it is a wonderful way of supporting what I do here. The link is in the description box and the pinned comment. As we part ways, I wish you peace, prosperity, abundance, happiness, health, wealth, success, and joy on your journey ahead. If you enjoyed this video, consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to the Hermie family here on YouTube. Until we meet again, bye! Hi group 3, and welcome to your reading. If you recognize the image at the start of this video, then you're in the right place. This is going to be one of the deepest readings that I've done in terms of a what are you thinking, what are they thinking reading. We're ultimately having a look at the layers of this person's mind. So it is important to enter this reading with a specific person in mind or the idea of someone in mind. The YouTube reading covers the 3 layers of this person's psyche and how those layers of thoughts generally form who they are. So how they think in general. And then I'm also going to ask about how they think of you, my viewer, and what those thoughts are. Now, this reading is intended for platonic and romantic connections. We do have a lot to cover right here on YouTube. We also have a lot in the extended reading as well. Feel free to check out the extended readings before you purchase them. You can watch a trailer, read the description, and just see what is covered. This is all listed in the description box and the pinned comment, and it will be in the description of each of the extended reading videos as well. So more information about that is there. I am going to start your reading here on YouTube, but before we do, I just want to set my intentions. So I highly recommend that you also set your intentions. Consider the reasons why you were drawn towards this reading. What questions do you have about this person, about this connection? And then also consider the signs of confirmation you may need to see or hear in this reading to claim it as your own. Signs could be objects, colors, numbers, names, symbols, animals, literally anything. By doing that, you are creating more intention, which can help me as a reader really connect to your messages. It's a good idea to do anyway, but especially in general readings. So Spirit, please tune me into my Group 3's energies. Please help me offer Group 3 the most clear, honest messages about their reading. Okay. So similar to Group 1 and 2, I am feeling something for you, but I'm a little bit tired, so it's going to take me a little bit longer to tune in. Give me a second. I think I'm seeing a ladder or something leaning, like a person leaning on something. It feels supportive. It feels like this connection is supportive, and it may serve a purpose in your life, or you may serve a purpose in their life. This is for platonic and romantic connections, but I do feel the word friend being quite significant to this reading. And I'm hearing it specifically in relation to that Toy Story song, You've Got a Friend in Me. I think that's by Randy Newman. Is there anything else, Spirit? I'm also seeing a wheel. It looked like a steering wheel, but it's also being shown as like a car wheel. And the Tina Turner song, Big Wheels Keep on Turning, Proud Mary Keep on Burning, rolling down the river. Similar to Group 2, they're taking me to another thing now. River because of its movement, but also because of the symbol. So Aquarius could be significant. The water bearer, lots of colorful plant pots could be significant, especially turquoise, hues of blue pots, which is also leading me to like a family heirloom, like a cooking pot, something you eat out of that could be a blue color. Okay, we're going to call it there. That's the initial messages that came through for this group. Let's get into your topic now. For my Group 3s, please, Spirit, what are their person's conscious thoughts? What are this person's conscious thoughts about in general? Okay, in general, we have Gemini. What are this person's conscious thoughts of my viewer? What are this person's conscious thoughts of my viewer, please, Spirit? Conscious thoughts of my viewer. Okay, we have Hygeia and we have Ceres at the back of the deck. So it looks like this person could be quite practical. They could have Earth or Gemini or Virgo. Earth, I guess, is Virgo. But it makes me think of like Taurus, Capricorn, Virgo I think that this person is quite intentional. So the thing is, some people seem to have a lot of influence over their consciousness, a lot of focus, and other people seem to just let thoughts come and go, and they only focus on certain things. With Ceres here and Gemini, I think that in general, this person's consciousness is a stream of information, of ideas, of interactions, of questions, of jokes, of stimulation. I think that this person is easily distracted and influenced by the people around them. And I also, excuse me for wiping my nose, I also think that this person enjoys learning. They enjoy interacting with people. They enjoy small talk. They enjoy social situations where they're gaining some sort of interaction and stimulus. This is a conscious level of learning. Now, with that being said, Geminis aren't always extroverted. They're very observant. So this person is a very observant type of person who likes to gather as much information about their surroundings as they can. And with Ceres being reversed overall, their conscious mind is trying to filter out whether they should or shouldn't pay attention to that. So I do think that this person's mind is either bored, unmotivated, or just needing to be careful about getting overloaded from the day to day, which feels like a reflection of this person either being very tired most of the time, or having a lot going on most of the time, or just feeling very distracted most of the time. With Ceres reversed, it's like their brain is consciously trying to filter whether it's worth really listening or whether they should just tune out. Because Ceres is ultimately about reaping what you sow and harvesting, in this case, information. And so with it being reversed, it's like they're most often than not, they're trying to stop the flow of information. They're trying not to think too much, and they're trying not to take on too much information. Overall, this feels like a connection to this person's personality, their goals, and just their lack of time. Like they may be very busy, or they may just feel like they can't afford to invest meaningful time into every person they interact with, into every idea they have, and into every stream of thought. It's like this person, I'm just feeling tired, to be honest. So maybe they don't sleep well, or they're up early, and it just feels like they don't have the time to give every conversation, idea, or thought meaning. And when it comes to you, the way that you fit into all of this is that their conscious thoughts about you are to try to keep you in some sort of clean area of their mind. Like they try to make sure that they remember things about you, that they keep their thoughts of you organized, and that they are respectful of your conscious domain in their brain. So I do think that this person consciously thinks of you. I think that they try to consciously separate you from all the other clutter, all the other information, and they try to consciously prioritize you in some way. With Hygeia being here, it feels like an effort. It feels like something that is almost like a routine, and it also feels like it's a continual practice of cleaning their mind to accommodate for the right thoughts of you. So I do think that this person tries to put you in a box in their mind where you sit in a way that is quite clear, like you have your own space in their brain. And I think that they like to think of you in a self-soothing way. Their thoughts of you are a form of not really escape, but reward. So they can't always be distracted by the thought of you, but they don't want to see you as a distraction either. And so it seems like they honor your connection by being very careful and intentional about how they think of you. Does that make sense? Is there anything else that group 1 needs to know, Spirit, about their person's conscious thoughts? There's got to be something else. What am I missing? In general, I feel like for some reason this person's brain is either slippery or it's numb, because thoughts don't always stick. And for some reason with you, they've had to really make that choice. Like, they've had to go, okay, but we got to make group 3 stick somehow. We got to make group 3 stick. So why are they choosing to? They see you as a healing medicine. Because usually this asteroid represents like your health and your physical healing. They may consciously see you and focus on you as somebody who is good for them, something that's good for them, something that's very pure, that can heal, but that also keeps them on track. Because sometimes this asteroid in your chart can talk about whether you're going to, like, what your eating habits are like, whether you're going to experience weight issues, all of that. So they may see you as someone that like keeps them on track. Like, it's a very weird way of looking at you, because you represent this person physically taking care of themselves better. But maybe that makes sense for you because of the nature of your connection. But it's like their conscious thoughts of you are about how you represent them taking better care of themselves. And they may also wish and hope that you're doing the same. They may be thinking about, did group 3 brush their teeth? Depending on your relationship, they may be like, is group 3 eating well? Are they looking after themselves? Are they getting enough exercise? Are they sleeping well? Like, their conscious thoughts of you seem to either be about your physical well-being or about how you influence their physical well-being. And so overall, this person's mind feels overloaded. They don't have a lot of room, and yet they're constantly overloaded. And so they're having to be very selective about what they choose to focus on. Very intentional, very careful. And just in general, they let a lot of thoughts slip through. They don't focus on much. Something could happen and they forget about it. They don't hold on to it. They don't retain it. Their brain feels slippery and also very easily distracted. That's the best way I can describe what I'm seeing. We're going to move forward into their subconscious mind now. So for my group 3's person's subconscious thoughts, Spirit, what are their subconscious thoughts in general? And what are their subconscious thoughts about my viewer? About group 3, please, Spirit. What are their subconscious thoughts? Okay. And at the back of the deck is the 9 of Pentacles. Okay. So, what are we working with? We have balance, temperance. This is, I'm not allowed to show that. I love this deck, but I can't. I can't even show that. There, that's better. Okay. Technically nothing else is being shown. Oh my lord. Okay, look. Anyway, all right. Okay. I don't know how many times I said that, but we're just going to move forward. When we look at this person's subconscious, group 3, we can see how with the 9 of Pentacles in the middle, this person's mind subconsciously is a very protective space that is self-motivated towards stability, physical security, and also financial or physical freedom. Now, your subconscious mind is also connected to your shadow. It's not always, well, it's subconscious because we have to try in order to observe it. It doesn't just happen. It takes effort and it takes awareness, and it usually takes a little bit of either guidance through therapy or training through tools to be able to know what your subconscious thought patterns are, what your subconscious beliefs are, and often other people can see it within us before we see it within ourselves. It sometimes takes for somebody else to say like, hey, I notice you always do this, what's that about? And then you have to kind of go, oh, I didn't even know I did that. I think I remember seeing my mum do that when we were growing up. I didn't even realize I did that. And so usually it's the part of our brain that is conditioned and that absorbs information that we're not focused on interpreting, and yet we do. A part of our mind does hold on to that, and it can subconsciously affect our behavior. So our subconscious mind also impacts our dreams, and there are many definitions of these 3 layers of your mind through psychological definitions or metaphysical definitions, clinical definitions. So there's also a lot of people that say this isn't even a real thing. So feel free to do your own research and interpret it in your own way. But these are the labels that I'm using. Your subconscious mind as a part of your mind that acts without your conscious effort or influence. It is usually retained and used or referred to without us even realizing it. And so other people see it first, and then we have to really do some soul searching to see it for ourselves, which is why it does form part of your shadow in shadow work. Now, 9 of Pentacles. So subconsciously, this person is very proud of who they are. They're proud of what they've done, and they hold themselves to a high standard. They're also quite critical of their abilities to protect themselves, to create for themselves, to serve for themselves. Like they hold themselves to a high standard, and they hold their resources to a high standard. So subconsciously, this person is conditioned to see themselves as a high value person who has a lot to lose, not a lot to gain, but they can always continue to improve if they strive to be better than what they've already achieved. And so they do value that independence. They value personal space, freedom, security, financial stability and freedom, security. And they also value their ability to be somewhat autonomous and focused on themselves and successful in their own way. This person is, for that reason, subconsciously drawn towards spending time alone. They believe that they have everything that they need, and they may be prone towards hyper-independence. They've been conditioned to be very self-sufficient, and at times this can cause them to push other people away or to minimize how important other people's roles are in their journey. They may also prefer to work alone and struggle to work in teams and with other people, but for the most part, they believe that this is a strength, and the weaknesses, that comes with everything. There's always duality. So they overall see this as a strength. And it does subconsciously impact the way that they model relationships, the people that they gravitate towards. They could have a type A personality, or they could be very drawn towards role models who are type A personalities. They do appreciate humility and grace and people who are honest and authentic about who they are and what they can do, but they do set themselves up to achieve high expectations, high standards. So they try to model themselves after high achieving role models. So I do think with Temperance reversed, overall, their subconscious thoughts are centered around trying to find balance, because the physical body is only capable of so much. And I think this is the type of person that feels like they're always running out of time, that they're not quite doing enough, and they always want to do more, feel more, experience more. They have a spiritual calling within their subconscious mind to be more carefree and to let loose and to just be a bit impulsive and reckless and spontaneous. And their subconscious mind craves liberation in that way, of being able to simply go with the flow and create without restriction and feel without restriction, all of that with Temperance reversed. But I feel like more often than not, these impulsive behaviors are very quickly reined into the bigger picture. And this person is very quick to, do the right thing, either because they feel like they have levels of responsibility, or just because they don't want to sabotage the bigger picture at play, their long-term goals, their financial security. Like, they do manage to pull themselves to rein it in. I think that subconsciously this person is very drawn towards what they don't know. They're a thirsty spirit is what I like to call it. They're hungry for more knowledge and they're thirsty for more experience. They love to know more about the world around them. They love to indulge in other cultures, in diversity, in new experiences. But they can't always commit to that as a practice. And so it feels more like impulse and outbursts that look quite spontaneous and unpredictable, where all of a sudden they've started learning how to cook traditional teppanyaki dishes, and then the next time you see them, they're back to their usual diet, and you're like, what was that about? And they go, oh yeah, it was fun, but it just wasn't gonna last. Like, it was too expensive. There's always a practical reason that seems to rein this person in. I do think that their desire to know more about the world around them has them on a bit of a soul quest, though. I think that this person subconsciously wants to believe that there is a higher power, wants to believe that there's something else out there. And with Temperance reverse, they want to believe that there's something bigger than them that they're a part of, a collective energy, or again, a higher power, a source, a God, something that can give their life more meaning. Subconsciously, they always seek more meaning with Temperance reversed, but they're not always able to give energy to that desire. They feel very restricted by their physical responsibilities, their material goals, their material obligations. So overall, their unconscious mind is a reflection of someone who wants more than what they've been born into. They feel like a bit of a slave to the machine in many ways, the machine being society's expectations, material expectations, and their own desire to be stable and secure. Now, when it comes to their thoughts about you, we have balance. So balance to me really highlights how this person holds you to a high regard as well. We saw that in their conscious mind. Subconsciously, this person's thoughts of you are very much about doing the right thing, about honoring you, about being respectful, about treating you in a certain way, maintaining, a balance with you. They may see you as a partner or as someone who they have a contract with that they need to meet, and they need to live up to a certain level of expectation. There is some sort of relationship here with you that they need to fulfill in terms of obligations, and that they should remain respectful of that relationship that they have with you. The subconscious thoughts of you seem to be about making sure that they're keeping the peace, making sure that they're honoring whatever balance of relationship that they have with you, and also making sure that they're respecting you in the way that you deserve to be treated. They honestly put you in this box that feels very careful, respected, and it snaps a different part of their personality together. Like it's like this person could be acting really silly and goofy, and then as soon as you enter the room, they try to immediately put on that mask to show you that they're taking you seriously and they respect you and they see you as someone who deserves their respect. So subconsciously, their thoughts are centered around maintaining that balance, that harmony, that feeling of partnership, or the obligations in your relationship. I do think with balance being here in their subconscious mind, they've been conditioned to treat you a certain way. And it could be because of how they were raised. It could be because of the amount of years you've known them. Or it could just be that you hold a very important part of this person's psyche, because this is them when they're not trying. So when they're not trying, this is how they're treating you, which to me is very telling. It's very interesting that even without trying, without thinking, they have this much respect for you. And it does feel respectful, so maybe there is some sort of formal layer to your relationship in which, you know, this could be your boss or your senior family member or something like that. But for all of you, it's a very subconscious desire to respect and honor you. Now, let's have a look at their unconscious mind. Where are we at? I think this is where we get all the cards out. So we're going to pull this deck again, because the unconscious mind is even deeper. The idea behind the unconscious mind is there is no control. It's just the thoughts that come from such a dark place. Actually, let's not say dark. It comes from such a deep place that it is conditioned, but it's also nature. So it's going to be interesting to see what comes through for this person. But really, your unconscious mind is your ultimate shadow. It's the version of you that operates without restriction, without conscious intervention, and without you trying. Like it's just... And for that reason, a lot of people dispute and discuss what does the unconscious mind mean. I think Freud was one of the people that really made that term popular, but I'm referring to it as the deepest layer of your psyche that is most connected to your nature and your deep conditioned patterns of thinking and acting. So for my group threes, what are their person's unconscious thoughts in general? We have the Ace of Pentacles. And what are their unconscious thoughts of my viewer? Spirit, without thinking. We have the Death card. Okay. The back of the deck is the Ten of Pentacles. Might have to move that again. It didn't quite fit in the first part, in group... Who was it? Group 2, I'm pretty sure we did this for as well. Okay. So, for my group 3, Spirit, clarify this person's unconscious thoughts in general. This is the Native American deck. It's a tarot deck that I've been lucky to borrow from somebody. Spirit. Okay. When it comes to you, my viewer, we have Judgment. Wow, lots of transformation. At the back of the deck is the main character card. So unconsciously, this person was conditioned and is naturally inclined to question their character. They do try to... Oh my gosh, the amount of... I don't know if I'm going to be able to get away with this. They do try to honor their traditions of their family, of their culture, of their society. They are unconsciously conditioned and naturally inclined to be a more traditional type of person who values family, who cares about their public reputation, who holds themselves to a high standard, and who wants to have an impact in this lifetime. They want to have a legacy that they're leaving behind, and they want their life to mean something. They don't just want to live and die and work in between. They want to create memories, they want to build experience, and they want to have values and a culture that they can pass down to either their own children and grandchildren or to the community of family and people around them. So they do believe in community, they believe in socializing and having support systems, and unconsciously they are someone that benefits from that idea of having role models and mentors and young people that you can model your behavior towards. They are someone that would thrive in a more traditional family structure where you have generations of people imparting wisdom and learning from each other. But I do think that this person's subconscious nature leads them towards episodes where they're more focused on themselves, and they do have a spiritual side to them that wants to know why am I here? What can I do? What do I mean to myself, to this world, to the people around me? With the main character card reversed, this person's unconscious thoughts lead them to feel as though they are someone who defines their meaning, and they're quite susceptible towards changing their identity multiple times in their lifetime, reinventing themselves and just trying to be a different person, trying to become a better version, and also trying to be a better version or a better person than their role models. So this is the kind of person who would put their parents on a pedestal until they found out that their parents did something very anti-role model, and then it would destroy them. It would make them feel like, what? How could my role model do that? And it would make them question everything that they know about themselves, let alone their role model. So this is the type of person that takes identity seriously, and if they're not confident, comfortable, or feeling like they are their best self, then they're always questioning, what else can I do to be better, to be more, full stop. Like, quite an existentialist. They want to know what the meaning of life is and how they fit into that. So I do think that overall, their unconscious mind is kind of insecure. Like, really, this is a feeling of someone who always needs structure. They need to know where they stand. They need to have expectations. They need to have external support systems. They need to have a family, a community, a society, a culture, a tradition to keep them in line. Otherwise, they feel very lost. And so they may have had rebellious years where they naturally wanted to know, like, what else is out there? Why do we do the things that we do? I want to try something different. But I feel like their personality unconsciously always leads them back towards structure, tradition, family, community, stability, longevity, career. They may have been someone who values long, stable jobs, even though they complain about having to show up and go to work every day. They like to know what is expected of them, and they like to be able to predict what's going to happen from day to day. They like to feel like they're in control because they unconsciously think they're not at all in control. So if we have a look at their thoughts in general, with the Devil card reversed and the Ace of Pentacles, we're seeing more of that material connection. This is someone that feels very comfortable operating within systems. They feel very connected to the human experience. They feel a little overwhelmed by the idea of spirituality and the concepts of metaphysics. They want to have 2 feet in the ground. They've been conditioned to feel comfortable being a human being. Even though with the Devil card reversed, they are unconsciously inclined towards experimenting, testing the limits, and really knowing more about the perversions of the human condition. I believe that unconsciously, this person is a bit of a devil's advocate, and they will grow into somebody through experience and through knowing themselves better, who wants to make the most out of life. And so with the Ace of Pentacles and the Devil card reversed, they're someone who unconsciously strives for the next best experience, the potential, and they get excited by the potential of things, the allure of something. So for that reason, I think that marketing works really well on this person. It's that idea of I can't miss out. Value is subjective, but this person is very ingrained in believing that things have value. They are very easily influenced towards the material world and very easily persuaded towards consumerism as a part of how grounded and rooted they are in the human experience. The shiny things hold a lot of value, and the Ace of Pentacles in their unconscious mind says that they ultimately believe that life is about making the most out of what you've got. So they believe in seizing opportunities. They believe in creating opportunities, making something out of nothing. And they also believe in hard work. They believe in sacrifice, in being disciplined and, sacrificing your time or your money or your spending in order to get ahead. They believe in being able to make the system work while also knowing that the system is rigged. But they believe that they have the ability to be successful. Unconsciously, they've been conditioned to believe that life is what you make of it. And they believe as long as you're using the right tools, you can make anything out of your life. With the Ace of Pentacles and the 10 of Pentacles, you can go from nothing into literally everything. So with the Devil card reversed, this is about knowing the system well, dancing in the shadows occasionally, having that indulgent side that likes to let loose and enjoy the pleasures of life, and that likes to take shortcuts and cheat against the system from time to time. But the only way you get there is by knowing the system. So unconsciously, this person's curious mind really makes them close with the dark side of the system as well. I wouldn't be surprised if this person is drawn towards people who are more deviant in nature, without being fully immersed in criminal activity. They probably brush shoulders with a lot of criminals in their lifetime, people who do really walk in the shadows. This person rubs shoulders with them because they seem to be someone that's unconsciously guided towards knowing what that other side of life is like, and using that knowledge to make something out of nothing without actually being deviant completely. They're just knowledgeable about it. So in terms of how they, and I also use the word deviant to reflect society's expectations of how people should behave. I'm not casting personal judgment. I'm just reflecting society's expectations. Speaking of judgment, In terms of this person's unconscious mind and their thoughts of you, we have two cards of transformation here. Pluto is very strong. Uranus is also strong. We have Scorpio and Aquarius. But technically speaking, these two cards are mostly about transformation. They are mostly about how this person thinks of you unconsciously as someone who has the chance to give them a brand new beginning by putting an end to something once and for all. You represent hope. You represent something that could be exactly what they've wished for, as well as a revelation about something that they need to change. So with the Judgment card here, this person is incredibly critical of themselves and how they should act, how they should treat you in the way that you see them, because they see you as someone who could both end them, because your opinion of them matters so much. If you looked down on them, it would end them. They're being very dramatic, but these cards are dramatic. It would end them. And if you see them in a positive light, it would literally give them a new lease on life. It would renew them. It would make them a new person, and it would give them their chance to be a new, better person. So with the Judgment card and the Death card, it's like this person feels a pressure to hide parts of their past and to also be more open towards transforming the aspects of their own behavior and personality that they don't like. You motivate them to be a better person, and on an unconscious level, they really want to be that for you. This isn't consciousness. This is just based off of their conditioning and their nature. A big part of this person's darkest, deepest parts of their mind wants to have this with you, a fresh, renewed opportunity that honors what they also want, but it feels like they need to ultimately purify and cleanse, which is very similar to Hygeia, especially with Judgment. This is giving big revelation, awakening. You've helped put this person's life into perspective. You've helped this person feel and realize something that they can't put into words properly, but it's an overwhelming feeling of, I need to change for the better, for group 3. I need to honor the things that I actually want within my nature, within my personality. And I also need to, once and for all, move forward with my life and stop making the same mistakes. I need to once and for all be the person that I said I was going to be. If not now, then it's never going to happen. So I'm going to get a closing card for you, group 3, from the Rumi Oracle deck. Spirit, what card best summarizes this person's mind and all those layers of their mind? What card? Okay, we have Arise, the number 13, which is also the Death card number usually. Okay, so there is a guidebook that I'm going to show you, but I am going to read intuitively, and I don't have a lot of time, so I will do my best to be concise before I take this reading into the extended. So really quickly with the extended reading, we are covering a lot. Here's everything that we are looking at in your extended reading. The link to the extended is in the description box or the pinned comment. Essentially, the extended reading is still about the layers of your person's mind and understanding their brain. But we get there by ultimately looking at both of you. By doing so, I'm hoping to be able to compare and contrast how the two of you are either compatible or also challenged by your differences. So we're going to have a look first at your triggers. how you trigger each other, or what about you triggers each other. And then we're going to look at what's similar, what's different. Hopefully that explains a lot about your relationship as well. Then we're going to look at the self-limiting beliefs that stand in each of your ways. And that's also very telling about your relationship. We then have a look at your dreams. What are your dreams trying to tell each of you? And how are they connected to those 3 layers of your mind, your conscious, subconscious, and unconscious mind? We then have a look at your motivations. So some of that came through already, but we have a look at both of you. What motivates this person towards you? What motivates you towards them? What is your motivation towards the relationship in general? Second last, we have a look at the ideas that you should be focusing on based on your best interest. This is another way of understanding your mind, of understanding, excuse me, your talents, your skills, your opportunities, and how you can use your mind to ultimately stay on track was the idea. And then we close your reading by having a look at the changes in your connection. What is changing in the immediate future? And then we clarify that by looking at what is changing for better and what could be a challenge moving forward. So this information is in the description box. It's also in the pinned comment. And if you click on the extended reading link, it will be in the description box of the videos as well. Make sure you click on the right video if you're joining me there. Remember, you're group 2, so click on group 2. To finish your reading here on YouTube, let's talk about this Arise card. The number 13 is very symbolic of new beginnings and transformations. And I do think that that's intentional with this Rumi Oracle deck. It feels like for this card to be reversed, Spirit's saying that the layers of your person's mind has been conditioned to keep them safe and to also challenge them to push outside of their mind. They are somebody who operates in the 3D. They're very conditioned to feel safe and comfortable as a human in a society with a structure in place around them. And yet they have a spirit or a soul that seems very focused on experiencing life altruistically and through the lens of what else is out there and how does that bring more meaning into my world. And so this person's mind to me is about trying to find that balance, because it's in their nature to want security, stability, and that family support, but it's also within their soul to crave more. And so there is this interesting correlation between, even when and if they become materially successful, surrounded by loved ones and generations of people who feel loved and devoted towards each other, I feel like they still wouldn't be happy because their spirit will be craving more. So let's just show you what the guidebook says. You're welcome to screenshot or pause to read this yourself. There's a lot in this guidebook. I don't have the time to read it all, but you're welcome to. Here's the first page for the Arise card. Here's the second and third page. And lastly, the fourth page over here, which includes the honoring ritual to bring you closer to love. So overall, this card is talking about how it's time to step up. This person is, I think, metaphysically and mentally conditioned towards being somewhat of a role model, a leader, somebody who can either make or break family patterns. They could either transform ancestral trauma or end up accidentally perpetuating it. And so they have a very influential role in their life and in your life. And I think that overall, this person does take that role very seriously on an unconscious level, let alone subconsciously and consciously. And I hope that that is enough consolation to know where you stand. But if you do want more information, consider joining me in the extended reading. Thank you so much, Group 3, for all of your time, your energy, and your support right here on YouTube. It's been an absolute pleasure to be a part of your journey. Until we cross paths again, I wish you peace, prosperity, abundance, happiness, health, wealth, success, and joy. Look after your beautiful selves. Bye.